Sorry about that. My Mrs. Vicky called. Yeah, so Joss Whedon, he's absolutely amazing, and if you didn't grow up with him and watch it, you think you see all Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's about some stupid high school, girl fighting cheesy vampires or whatever, and it was all whatever, and very, very Americanized. But if you actually watch the program from start to finish over that kind of 6-7 years or whatever, the writing was absolutely phenomenal, and people who watched Buffy will know exactly what I'm talking about. And I think the reason, I'm going to get quite passionate about this, the reason that the writing was so phenomenal was because it did, a lot of the time, it did masquerade as like a kind of clueless type, high school type thing where she occasionally, she fought vampires in the evening. It was all a bit silly. But you got very sucked into that world of it all was all joke, and everything was a pop culture reference, and everything was a little one-liner back, and everything. And then every so often, it did throw you a curveball, and you just didn't know how to react at all. It's just like Terra. There was a girl called Terra on it who was a witch, and a good witch, and she basically got with Willow. As you all know, Willow is the actress who plays Marshall's, forgotten her name now, Marshall's girlfriend on How I Met Your Mother, which I don't think she's ever been in anything as good since. So I think she's kind of funny at one time at band camp, American Pie, but from an emotional acting point of view, I don't think she's ever been any as good a character as she was when she was Willow. She got with this other witch, and it was like that was like a lesbian thing, and at the time there wasn't any other kind of same-sex relationships on TV, especially not in that kind of Dawson's Creek type genre. But she was with Terra, and what I liked about Buffy the Vampire Slayer was that she was with Terra, a lesbian relationship, but there was never really a big thing made of it. It was just they got together, and Joss Whedon's gay, if people know anyway. But I like the fact when things are just a thing and then they're not made a thing, and it was brilliant. But anyway, she'd been with Terra for about 2 years in the program history anyway, and they'd always had this huge. This is a bit big bad, and before Buffy there was no big bad, and now it's just a common household name, that the big bad of the series. But they made that the big bad of every series. And you always had, they had the Master, and they had Angel and Spike and various other peoples and whatever. But what was really, really shocking and really fucking hell was they had one series, and I honestly think it's because they didn't know what to do with the series. They couldn't stop making the program because it's doing so well. But they didn't really know what to do with it. So they kind of had a series where it didn't really have an enemy at all, other than these 3 nerds who didn't have any power at all. They were just humans. They dabbled in a bit of black arts and whatnot, but they didn't really have any power. They weren't really the enemy. They just wanted to be noticed, and it was kind of lackluster and didn't really go anywhere, and you didn't really know what was going to happen with them. They were just pathetic. Every single thing they did, they just failed miserably. Buffy and Xander and Willow. Willow by this point was like a really fucking skilled witch. And every little scheme they tried, they completely failed, and Buffy thwarted them. And again, although I thought at the time this is getting a bit boring, but it lulled you into a full sense of security. But at the same time, they used the series, instead of focusing on these stupid idiots who they kept on stopping, there was so much character intervention in that. It was just focused on just them. It was almost just like a drama, really, with a little bit of demon slaying in the evenings. So you got very, very secure and very, very And then, out of nowhere, Terror had been in the programme, and they said because they'd become before, they'd always been demons and vampires, and you can always stop demons and vampires with kicking their asses and stakes and magical MacGuffins and everything. But you can't stop people, can you? Normal people just kill people. And Terror just got shot with a gun by the man, by the one of the guys in the group. He didn't even mean to shoot her. He just came in and he started getting all angry and he just started shooting his gun. He wasn't trying to kill anyone. He was still a human. He wasn't a demon or anything. He was just human. He just started shooting his gun and a stray shot went through the window and fucking shot Terror in the stomach. And she just died there and there, just actually not like, next time on Buffy the Vampire, Will Terror. She just fucking died. With Willow just over the top of her, like crying, saying like, Terror no, please, Terror no, please, no. And she was dead. And I'm sorry if I'm getting a bit upset thinking about it, but it was fucking horrendous. And it just, like, there hasn't been a programme for me that's really hit me like that. You just think, that's absolutely brilliant. And again, there was another time when Spike, who had... James Masters is probably one of the... Well, he's a good actor as much as anyone's a good actor, but I just wanted to bring him up. He was absolutely brilliant as Spike. Could not say a bad word. I love it when a villain starts off as a villain and then very naturally and progressively over time becomes a hero or just a normal person. And I love it because if you start, you just whack, and this is where Riley failed. I don't know if any of you know, but Riley was brought in as this do-gooder as Buffy's boyfriend, and it just failed miserably. You just wanted to smack him the whole time. And then nothing happened to him and then he fucked off. So after like Buffy like fancying Spike and Angel, Riley really didn't tick any boxes. But Spike, you love a character. He came in, if you bring in a character as an actual bad guy, and this will be touched on with Gus, I reckon, in Breaking Bad. If you bring in a character as an actual bad guy, and Spike wasn't even just a bad guy, he was a fucking vampire who could not feel good. He was designed to feel hate. And very, very slowly, over about 5 years, he was turned not so much a good guy, but he just couldn't stop loving Buffy. And not in a really shit Twilight way, and an actual... He literally smashed up his house or his crypt because he just couldn't stop loving her and fancying her, and he couldn't believe that the one girl who was sent to destroy him, he couldn't stop fancying and wanting to do good things for her. And that just says so much about human... I mean, how many women have we fancied who you can't stand? They're an absolute bitch, an absolute twat to us, but we just still keep dreaming about you know, wanting to be there for them, be that guy for them. And he was a vampire, and he killed, literally, they implied he'd killed thousands of people, not to mention the people he'd killed while he was in the show. And he absolutely adored her. He couldn't stand it, and he absolutely hated himself for it. But even so, he kept on doing good things and helping them out, even helping out all his stupid friends who he couldn't stand. And he was absolutely... I can't think of another character other than on the level of like Jesse, or I think he was even a better character than Jesse and Walt, just because you never met such a conflicted character who you like. He's absolutely brilliant to be that fucking cool. He's basically like Billy Idol. Well, he was based on Billy Idol, so that's not a secret. Billy Idol as a vampire who's a fucking cunt, but he's also like got compassion and a moral side that he doesn't even like. And those are the characters we need to be having in our programmes, and we don't seem to be having them. And so he was absolutely brilliant. But and again, in this series that everyone thought was boring, even I did, I think it was this series. It may have been the one after. I think it possibly could have been the one after. This is when the one came in. Spike, because he'd still loved Buffy, had, although didn't like Spike, was coming out a bit of a weird relationship, and she fancied Spike and basically used him, just had sex with him whenever she could, even though she constantly, this was so, it was an absolutely amazing piece of an era, of a piece of cinema over time. He was the nasty vampire and she kept sleeping with him, and he was head over heels in love with her, and she used him like fuck. At every point she used to sleep with him, tell him that he was a no good piece of shit, he was evil, she'd never love him like she'd love Angel. And he kept on coming back, and he was the vampire and she was meant to be the good one, and she was an absolute bitch to him. Really horrible. Just slept with him and got her kicks, and used the fact that he was a vampire with no soul to the point so she could basically do whatever she wanted without any feelings or thought or whatever. But he got so... They started kissing one night, and she was kissing back, and then at some point she said, I don't want this anymore, this isn't what I want. So she pushed him off. And this is where it went really, really dark. For a programme that was on at 6:45 on BBC Two in the evening, and I watched this with my dad on BBC Two, she tried to push him off, and he wouldn't stop. And he basically tried to rape her. Because he was a vampire. He was meant to be this way. Again, it was absolutely amazing, because you'd again been lured into this false sense of security where he'd become the joke and they're the one everyone picks up on all the time, and call yourself a vampire, and you do our dirty work. You spend all your time fapping over Buffy when you're supposed to be an evil vampire with no soul. And when she tried to get him off her, he wouldn't, because he was a fucking vampire with no soul, and he wouldn't stop, and he tried to rape her, and eventually because obviously this is the thing, Buffy managed to get him off her, because, but I don't know if you know, Buffy's got superhuman strength, and she can, she's very capable of handling herself, but even she struggled, and she just went off. If she hadn't have been with what she'd got, he would have probably raped and killed her. But she got him off and managed to push him into the corner, and he's clocked what had happened, and you could just see there was this man cowering in the corner who just tried to rape the woman who he loved more than anything, and he was a vampire, and he had no soul, and he killed millions of people, and I think that kind of dawned on him as well, and it was fucking... It's called, if you ever want to see it, I honestly recommend you watching it, and if one person watches some of these episodes, because I know a lot of you young kids years ago, or even you older people, it's called Seeing Red, one of the latest seasons in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it was horrible. I watched it a couple of weeks ago, and I was like this. Absolutely brilliant that they did this. And he was just cowering in the corner going, what the hell have I done? It was horrible. So there you go, that's... And Spike was a huge joke with his funny one-liners. Was he evil? Wasn't he evil? Is he a joke? You can't write characters... Well, you can write characters like that, but it was just absolutely amazing. I don't think it gets that much credit. And he literally... He got up off that floor and he disappeared, and he said, I'm done now with you, and when I come back I am not going to be the same person. And he drove off on his bike, and you were all supposed to think, he's going to... Basically he said he was going to get his goodness removed, so he could be evil again. So he didn't. I mean, I think that's bit well. So he didn't have to feel what we feel, because as 1,000 years as a vampire, or 100 years, or whatever he was, being not having a soul and not having to feel a conscience or whatever clearly was a lot easier. And him having to be conscious and worry about, you know, not hurting people for the first time in God knows how long. He realised how horrible, and he didn't want to. He drove off and he said, I'm not going to, I don't want to be this anymore. I want to go back to being the evil vampire that I was, because it's easier. And when you found out a couple of episodes later, spoilers alert, so I'm sorry for the spoilers in this, but you know, this is a series from like 15 years ago or something. He went and found a demon who would actually give him a soul, so he would have to properly feel everything. And I've probably got a few things mixed up and a couple of series mixed up, but like I said, this was a long time ago, but the feelings stay. And he died at the end. You've never seen a character journey. Spoilers alert again. He died saving Sunnydale. Well, or the Earth. But you know, there's only so much you can fit into a kid's drama. But he had a choice to live on with Buffy, or he could die saving the Earth, and he died saving the Earth. So yeah, that was my bit on Breaking Bad that turned into a 20-minute rant on Buffy and Spike. So there you go, I'm going to stop it again. Cheers.